Hello and welcome. Today on the Tempo Strategy channel, we're going to be discussing the state of Tempo Warrior. Tempo Warrior is widely recognized as an interesting and skill-testing deck, which should be a part of the competitive meta, but the reality is that despite the recent nerfs to the archetype, it is still the best deck in the game by a pretty wide margin. So our task for today is to discuss why the original nerfs didn't accomplish enough, and then to suggest some additional changes which could bring the power level of Tempo Warrior back down to earth without killing the archetype altogether. Before we begin, we'd like to remind you to subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on in order to stay up to date with all of our upcoming content. Now, onto the video. Let's begin with looking at the Warrior nerfs, which went live a couple of weeks ago that everyone agrees weren't a sufficient change to the archetype. Bloodboil Brute was changed from 6 attack to 5, and Bloodsworn Mercenary was reduced from a 3-3 to a 2-2. These nerfs are both impactful in some niche scenarios, but the main issue with them is they are minor changes to the deck's biggest power spike. A 6-8 with Rush coming down for 2 mana on turn 4 is often game-winning, but so is a 5-8 with Rush, and when you Rampage plus Bloodsworn Mercenary or Warmaul Challenger, the body on the Bloodsworn is usually irrelevant even if it is a 3-3 because you're already never going to lose board. None of this is to say that making minor changes is not a good balance patch from the design team, as it's rarely a positive thing for a deck to be removed from the meta entirely, but that doesn't mean you can't take a more refined approach to making those minor changes and bring about a more desired shift in power level. Our analysis is that with 3 more changes, all of them on the smaller side, Tempo Warrior would still be a competitive deck, but would not dominate the meta in the way it has been. Before we go into what we are changing, however, we should take a moment to explain why we would not change Risky Skipper. The reality is that while Risky Skipper tends to be a part of the majority of Tempo Warrior's most powerful turns, there is just no way to tune back its power level without killing the deck. Mana is too crucial to those turns to increase its mana cost, and if its health were reduced to too many of your skipper turns, would again not be possible. The one change that would technically be acceptable would be to make Risky Skipper a 1 mana 0-3, but that seems like an odd and unproductive change as it wouldn't harm any of the combo turns the card is used for, instead hitting its ability to be played for tempo, which was never a problem in the first place. Moving on to the cards we do think should be nerfed, we will start with Bloodboil Brute. Overall, this card is probably good for the state of Hearthstone. It enables difficult combo turns that require setup and foresight, and it is a large part of what makes Warrior a complex deck to play. However, despite it being minorly nerfed once already, it remains simply too powerful. The change of 1 attack is often not relevant at all, since the card comes down so far ahead of curve that it's pretty rare for a minion it can trade into to even have 6 health. We think it would accomplish a whole lot more to reduce Bloodboil Brute's health by 1 to make the card a 5-7. There are 2 reasons that is more impactful. First, the card's ability to value trade is a huge part of what makes it so strong, and while with this change it will still value trade well, it will be far more susceptible to the opponent's removal after it makes those value trades. And second, when Bloodboil Brute comes down as part of a Risky Skipper turn, it tends to take quite a bit of damage, which will become more of a problem with its health reduced. Even with this nerf, Bloodboil Brute will remain a core card in Tempo Warrior, but its ability to take over games will be slightly reduced. There have been a lot of calls over the past few months for Battle Rage to be considered as a candidate for the Hall of Fame. We tend to disagree with that suggestion, as situational card draws are important for making the game fun and skill testing. Battle Rage turns are difficult to set up and require planning and a lot of decision making, and additionally there are ways to play around Battle Rage, so it's not one of the power cards you have to just hope your opponent doesn't draw. That being said, the release of Risky Skipper has pushed Battle Rage to a new power level, which is probably not healthy for the meta. For that reason, we'd tune down the card's strength by making it read for each damaged friendly minion instead of for each damaged friendly character. This approach would be the simplest way to make Battle Rage turns less of a blowout without killing them altogether by increasing the card's mana cost. Additionally, it would prevent Battle Rage from being cycled for 1 or 2 draws in your bad hands, which limits the card's utility. It should be noted that Battle Rage is not an inherently overpowered card, and this nerf could easily be reverted once Risky Skipper moves to Wild next year, but for now we think this change is a necessity. Warmaul Challenger manages to be the strongest card in Tempo Warrior against aggro, while simultaneously being one of its best anti-control cards as well, due to the way it enables Inner Rage, Rampage, and Bloodsworn Mercenary. The card is simply far too hard to remove and would be very powerful even in a deck that didn't run buffs for it. There is no doubt that this card's health needs some sort of nerf, though the actual number it should be moved to is up for more debate. Our suggestion is that it would likely be more balanced as a 1-8, but it should be changed to a 1-9 first, and then its performance in the deck should be evaluated from there. Challenger. Warmaul Challenger is one of the most interesting card designs of the new set, and it's important to not nerf it to the point of being unplayable. It's our opinion that with these 3 nerfs, Tempo Warrior would end up very close in power level to the other top tier decks instead of in a league above. What is your opinion? Would you be happy with these modest changes to Warrior? Do you like Warrior being overpowered? Would you prefer the Warrior class was removed from Hearthstone? Let us know what you think in the comments, and please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell to stay up to date with the variety of content Tempo Strategy will be bringing your way. Thanks for watching!